Boris Johnson has said sorry in the past.
I'm apologising, obviously, for all the offence I've caused and for any hurt that people feel as a result of the article.
This was 2004. He edited The Spectator when a column criticised Liverpool fans at Hillsborough. More recently, there was this.
I do apologise. I do apologise. And of course I retract any suggestion that she was there in a professional capacity.
That was about Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, a British Iranian woman in jail in Iran. But no such apology today, it seems. The Tory chairman, Brandon Lewis, called on Mr Johnson to say sorry for claiming veiled Muslim women look like letterboxes. The Prime Minister agreed.
It's not language I would have used. I think it was wrong to have used that language, and I agree with Brandon Lewis.
With no apology forthcoming, it seems there's something of a standoff. The backlash that Boris Johnson's comments has created has been aimed at him personally, but it poses a problem for the Conservative Party too. A party already facing accusations of failing to do enough to tackle Islamophobia. The founder of the Conservative Muslim Forum told Newsnight he'd written to the party chairman this afternoon demanding further action, suggesting Boris Johnson should be kicked out of the Tories.
The party must take action. I don't think apology is enough. I think we should take more severe action against this man. Really.
What kind of action?
Well, take the whip from him. Why not? He's not a superhuman being. He's a member of the party. If I behave badly, I'm a member of the Conservative Party, I'm a Conservative peer, the party chairman, the party, the Prime Minister has a right to take the whip. Let's take the whip from him. It's not out of order, and that is, I think, what I would like to see.
A source close to Boris Johnson said it was ridiculous his views were being attacked, and rather than shut down debate on difficult issues, it was important to speak up for liberal values, pointing out he was arguing women should be free to wear the niqab if they choose. Some, though, think he had a different message too.
This, in my view, isn't really about burqas. That is the superficial version, how far you should go criticising other cultures' behavioural habits. I think what it's really about is a bit of shadowboxing for some up-and-coming, far larger rows that this party's going to see over Brexit in the autumn. Certainly Brandon Lewis and Theresa May see Boris as a great threat to their plans when he rises up from the deep again and comes back to haunt them, but also potentially over the future leadership.
Some have suggested it's a pitch to the right wing.
Given that the Conservative Party leader is chosen from amongst paid-up Tory party members, in my view, having made these comments, makes him more likely to become Tory party leader and not less.
So Parliament might not be sitting for this summer, but the Tory party's still wrestling with itself. This time, though, along with the political power play, a wider question. Does the party as a whole have a problem with Islamophobia?
Well, joining us to discuss those issues are Shazia Awan-Scully, a former Conservative parliamentary candidate who joined the Tories in 2007 but left after experiencing what she describes as anti-Muslim sentiment. Also here is Councillor Shazia Bashir from Peterborough, Conservative there, and Laura Perrins, who's co-editor of the website The Conservative Woman. Welcome all. Shazia Awan-Scully, let's start with you and your experience. I mean, do you recognise the descriptions of the Conservatives as an Islamophobic or, in some way, prejudiced party?
So I was a member of the Conservative Party for many years, and I think the party has a huge problem with xenophobia and Islamophobia. When I was a member, the problem, really, I experienced was from the grassroots level.
What sort of things?
Well, at the time, there were people like David Cameron and others trying to modernise the party, but at the grassroots, some of the issues were terrible. So I remember doing a parliamentary selection, which is when anyone is trying to get selected to be a candidate for an association. And I remember walking in to an association, and I think I was the first and only non-white face that had dared enter that association. And a panel of 3 very out-of-touch, middle-aged white men proceeded to question me about my views of the British Raj. And they followed that up with a question asking me, what are your views on the National Black Policemen's Association? Why do you people need it? So
you people,
yes, and that was accompanied by some finger wagging. And I was too young and naive at the time to realise what was going on there. I remember going into my car in absolute floods of tears. And a friend of mine in the Conservative Party, who incidentally now is no longer a member, saying to me, look, you've got to put up with this because you know as well as I do, you've just got to be loyal to the party. So don't be a troublemaker, don't raise it. If you've got any political aspirations in this party, you won't cause trouble. And I think the Conservative Party are very good at sweeping things under the table. I've been talking about Islamophobia in the party since 2016, since the Zach Goldsmith campaign.
Right.
And I don't think the Conservatives are listening.
Shazia Bashir, does that chime in any way with your experiences, or would you say yours had been different?
The Conservative Party is the right party for me. Locally and nationally, they have supported me. I've not experienced personally any incident. I am aware that incidents have happened, and they happen in any party. Like you've got the anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, racism and Islamophobia and things like that you've got in other institutions as well. So they should be dealt with accordingly as well. Zero tolerance.
What does that mean in Boris Johnson's case, do you think?
Boris Johnson, I support the Prime Minister's statement today and the party chairman, Brandon Lewis's statement that he should apologise. He needs to accept that if he wants to run for leadership, he needs to lead by example. We're a multicultural, diverse society now, so we don't have space for these kind of comments.
And I know it's a question for high-ups in the party, but if he doesn't apologise?
Disciplinary action. That's the way forward.
You know, he's actually done this because he wants to get elected. This is what he's done to pander to the extreme right of the party. Those people will be relishing the fact that he said this. Boris Johnson is probably sitting at home with a glass of whiskey, watching this, quite happy that he's being talked about.
Laura Paris. Let's bring Laura in, because, I mean, is it a cynical ploy, in your view, as Shazia says, to energise the right of the party, or is it an essential debate that has to be had?
Well, I can't second-guess Boris Johnson's motives. Who knows what the man thinks from day to day. People like to do that all the time. But this is a very important debate to have in terms of community cohesion, integration, and what Britain should require of each citizen should they wish to live in a civilised manner within society. This was in a 1,000-word article, and what members of the left in particular have done, and some of the broadcast media, have picked out literally 2 phrases and rounded upon him.
Robber and letterbox.
Rounded upon him to sort of shut down the debate entirely. They're not phrases I would use. You could certainly say they were rude, but this idea where everything now seems to be phobic. I mean, you can't leave the house before somebody calls you a phobic something or other. We should not be medicalising political debate. To have a phobia used to actually be a serious thing. It used to mean something. Now, if somebody says something that you don't like, you just say they're phobic about something or some group, and then that's it. It's game over.
But do you think he deliberately used those 2 phrases to bring this up and to bring attention to himself, or do you think it was miscalculation or...
You're asking me to look into the mind of one of the best known politicians in Britain. I have absolutely no idea why he raised that. We run a website. I write lots of different articles. I know what it's like for people to take your words out of context. But in terms of using the language, he has raised an interesting debate. And the debate as to should the burqa be permitted in public is a critical debate that people are having across Europe and not just in Britain.
Shazia Bashir, OK, it's a debate, clearly. It's a sensitive issue. Is it therefore one that, in party terms, Muslims should lead? Or does everybody have an equal voice?
Everybody has an equal voice. So the party represents all religions, all ethnic minorities and all genders.
Can I ask you, because, of course, as a result of your experiences, you've now gravitated towards Labour, Shazia. So do you find the atmosphere different, in simple terms, within that party? Do you find it a more receptive home?
Well, I joined Welsh Labour, and I think there's a clear distinction between the wider party and Welsh Labour. Health and education are devolved in Wales, and under Carwyn Jones, First Minister, it's a very different party. Of course, I would say that the anti-Semitism and the way that it's been dealt with from Westminster by the Labour Party has been absolutely appalling. But modern day politics, we've got a lot of problems here. And why are these political parties such uncomfortable places for people to be if they look slightly different? If you cast your mind back to 50 years when Enoch Powell gave his Rivers of Blood speech, he was sacked from the shadow cabinet immediately. He was ostracised from his party immediately. Boris Johnson can say anything and get away with it. These comments are Islamophobic, they're against Muslims, and I would urge any Muslims to not vote for the Conservative Party because of their stance towards our community.
Shazia Bashir, can I just ask you, because I think you've come the other way, haven't you, politically, whether your answer about having the debate across cultures is born in part of your experience in the Labour Party with traditional leaving too much to...
Well, like I said, I would never compromise my faith for anything. I wouldn't be in the Conservative Party if it didn't support my values. The Conservative values and the Muslim values do overlap. I was a paid member for Labour, and as you may remember, that I was on Newsnight a couple of years ago when the Muslims Network raised the issue about women being blocked. And there was an inquiry which was, again, Jeremy Corbyn swept under the carpet. And it was about patriarchal men not allowing women to come forward. And that was at grassroots level. So for me, for me, the Conservative Party has been extremely supportive. It's Boris, like I said, Boris Johnson has made the wrong comments. He needs to apologise.
What is an apology going to do? What will an apology do exactly? He needs to be sacked from the party, quite frankly. Theresa May needs to be a leader and take real action.
We've not got much time. Laura, last word.
If he acknowledges what he's done and apologises...
No, of course
on the disciplinary route...
Of course not. If people should be able to write articles, and the whole article must be taken in context. This idea now that the man should be, run out of town is exactly the kind of authoritarian nonsense that we must resist. It's not responsible.